You are welcome to this very interesting session on the topic Unlocking Climate Smart Digital Trade and Farm Carbon Credit Facilitation in Africa. My name is Kenneth Izomo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the African Digital Leadership Innovation Network. And I would like to quickly introduce our esteemed speakers who will be providing us with more deep insights on this interesting topic. I'll start with Mr. Sant Mbakalu, who is the founder of International Trade and Research Center in Nigeria. Also joining us is Omobola Adekola. She is the partner and head African Trade Practice Group, Deal HQ Partners, based in Nigeria. You are welcome. And also joining us from Cameroon is Prince Justin Ajinga Tanyi, the Executive Chairman of Union Farms of Africa, based in Cameroon. You are welcome. And also with us is Dr. Renuka Thakore, the founder of Global Sustainable Futures Network, GSFN. Dr. Thakore leads the 20 million farmers initiatives, Farm Carbon Africa. And with me also is Ms. Angie Abdelwahab. She is the founder of Unica Research based in Cairo. You are welcome. And now quickly, we are at a very critical moment now in Africa that we have to take actions in respect of fine-tuning the digital space in Africa as it relates to trade. So as at this moment, we have assembled esteemed speakers that will be enlightening us with different strategies on how to reinforce and facilitate trade in Africa. So this very section will be exploring several strategies, several ways in how we can fine-tune the intra-African trade, leveraging digital solutions, eco-innovation perspective and awareness, and at the same time, helping to collaboratively create a sustainable roadmap for Africa. In this context, we would like to reference as well the African Continental Free Trade Agreement initiatives ongoing in Africa in order to strengthen the integration of trade in Africa. And digital plays a very critical role in fine-tuning such approaches. And at the same time, you agree with me that today we'll be exploring these different approaches and giving us more insights on how to navigate Africa in the right direction. So welcome on board with me and join us in these brainstorming sections, and at the same time, the critical experience which we'll be leveraging on from the various speakers that will be joining us with several different topics that they will be addressing. We, the African Digital Leadership Innovation Network, is a platform and ecosystem that helps in facilitating collaborations in Africa in multi-sectoral approaches. It's a community of think tank experts coming together. And of course, with us today, is joining me on board is Evans Edebo, who is the CEO and founder of Trade for Development in Africa. So he's going to be our moderator Evans Edebo, please, over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. That is the co-founder and the president of the African Digital Leadership Innovation Network, ADNF. Thank you for the session, for setting the tone for the day, offering a high-level overview of the team, the policy landscape of AFCFT, and the urgent call to align climate-smart digital trade with Africa's sustainable goals. So we appreciate you, sir, for setting the tone for today's webinar. All right, we're moving straight to the first panel discussion, and I have here with me a whole lot in your introduction. I think, yes, everyone, we're coming back to that. So, yes, to take it off from there. So thank you so much. Thank you for making time for this webinar. All right, so we're moving to the third panel discussion. I think we're doing pretty nice today. And I think we're also doing very well with time, and I think we're doing pretty nice. So we're moving to the third panel discussion. And then in this third panel discussion, we're going to be looking at carbon smart agriculture. So the session, basically, we're going to be looking at innovative investments, models, community-led adaptation strategy, and how gender equity plays a central role in green value chain development. We're also going to be looking at farm carbon credit. How do we bring in inclusion, drive inclusion to be part of it, looking at certification, the process, what it takes, and the opportunities and potential of farm carbon credit in Africa, especially under the AFCFTA. And yes, we have two panelists in this third session. We have two panelists. I have Prince, and then I have Dr. Renuka. Yes, I have Prince Justin and also Dr. Renuka. Hi, Prince.
Hello, thank you very much. I am Dr. Renuka here. Prince Justin has recently gone through operation, and so he is not able to join. I think, yes, here. Okay, Chani, Christina, are you joining as Justin? Sorry.
Yes.
All right. So I'm sorry, he is here now. So please go ahead.
No, please, you can go ahead. Dr. Renuka, please go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I will give him first chance, and then I can.
Okay. I see. Yes. Hello, Prince Justin.
Hello.
How are you today? Could you just introduce yourself and then a bit about what you do?
Good. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, though it's a little bit faint. Can you move closer to your device or your microphone?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, you can go ahead.
Is it clear enough?
Yes, it's clear now. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, by way of introduction, I am Prince Ajinga Justin Tani. I am the founder of Union Farms of Africa, and I'm equally the roving ambassador to the states of the African diaspora. A part of that, I've also participated in a lot of startups. I'm a board member of the African Farmers Alliance of Cooperatives, which is another startup we are trying to put in place. And one of the biggest cap we are putting on now is we are trying to do a flagship program. We call it the 20 Million Farmers Initiative, which is the program we are currently doing with Dr. Renuka. And we seek to connect 20 million African farmers on one carbon market, because we are feeling that there is a gap in carbon trading, and if properly filled, this can actually help our farmers across Africa, because one of the challenges we have been having as farmers is that we don't have collateral to get monies from banks to expand our projects. But then another side of the coin is that nobody is connected to the carbon market, and that is where huge monies are lying. So we thought we could together tap into these so that we open up under AFCTA the opportunities for farmers across Africa to do one carbon market, and we can start trading with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that brilliant introduction. Yes, Dr. Renuka, please take the floor for your introduction, and then also what you do about your programs and your initiatives.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm founder of Global Sustainable Futures Network, and I am doing this climate change capacity building programs around the world. I'm connected to 180 countries, and I have 8,000 coordinators around the world to help initiate these programs where we simply advocate, but also create awareness and implement projects, whether it is educational, research, or project implementation, so that is doing work on ground. Having all that experience, I came across Prince Justin. I met him in January, and we found that there was a huge gap of carbon credit market in Africa. And so we initiated this one flagship program, especially to implement sustainable practices in agriculture and provide these farmers with credit in a form of several different ways, especially about, natural resources, biodiversity, and also a revenue that can bring them through carbon credit market. So I will stop here. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you very much for this, for what you do and for the opportunity to learn about it, and of course the overview that you have presented to us on this. All right, so we want to move to, we just have 3 areas that we want to look at under the session. The first area we want to look at, we're looking at homegrown carbon credit framework. We're looking at carbon credit framework. Carbon credit framework that align with both trade policy and probably global ESG standard. So we're looking at homegrown carbon credit framework. How can Africa develop? Where do we go from here regarding a carbon credit framework in Africa that align with our trade policy, AFCFTA, for instance, and then of course is also in line with global best practices?
Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. First of all, let us all agree that developing homegrown carbon credit framework in Africa is an absolute need. And we must align, continental trade policy, global ESG, and all other issues that are at national level and global level. And they provide us the framework to evaluate on that, and also to embed those frameworks that are strategically, inclusive and adaptive for Africa. And so we must also remember the realities of Africa, that people still manage land management practices are still indigenous. And we have, like Africa has natural capital such as forest, wetlands, mangroves, rangelands, and many other natural, resources. May it be mineral, may it be natural resources, and that is all so much, abundant resources that we should be proud of, and also to be managing it sustainably. And therefore, and the community at every level, wherever I see from or hear from Africa, they are either, connected to the farming in crops or whatever the farming industry may be, whole range of it, livestock or fishery and so on. But also they are equally associated with, mining, farming. So we should be looking at, community-led matrices that could be easily incorporating, social and livelihood benefits, and not only just that carbon tons, like carbon dioxide tons, but we should be incorporating those social and economic and livelihood benefits within that framework. Secondly, the framework should also dovetail with continental and regional trade strategies that enable carbon to be traded commodity, meaning that, this African continental free trade area is being developed for commodities to be freely developed. And if we add those commodities, or value of that commodities is accounting for the carbon within that commodities, it will be totally a different scenario. And we would be able to, harmonize those things very easily with the already existing arrangement that African continental free trade area wants to develop. So it is very important that we work within those framework that has been developed, or whatever the priorities African continental free trade area has, but a value addition can be made from the carbon perspective. Also, these all adaptation and adaptation of these global ESG standards, local relevance, equity, they should be utmost priority for Africa. And we should be translating those, international standards that are being already applied to agriculture, forestry, and energy, and so on. But we must also mandate these carbon projects with gender equality, biodiversity impact, water use, energy use, and so on. So then only it becomes more locally focused. And I have seen the previous conversation, especially from the first panel, saying that yes, digitalization is of utmost important. It can bring, trust, traceability, transparency, accountancy, all that. However, we are challenged by, how to make it digital, because we don't have basic infrastructure in place, such as electricity, internet, and many others. And so we are working for those things, basic needs. If we are able to make the carbon as a value addition product within these frameworks, it will also increase or invite, investment, innovation, enterprise within this all SMEs or agri-crop industry, who would be working towards, generating and selling credit from that regenerative agriculture, biomass, afforestation, and so on. So such a program, must be built on a framework, must be built on strategic local partnership and leverage into technical partners and other agencies. So the role of local actors in, framing these homemade, homegrown carbon credit framework would be very, very important. And that should be, stimulated or be running at a very fast pace so that we can come to a well-adopted framework. I will stop here and allow maybe Justine to add to these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's a whole lot that's been said from the fact that it is an absolutely need for Africa. Carbon credit framework is an absolute need for Africa. That's number one. We've established that fact in this panel discussion. And then number two, strategically inclusive and adaptive. It has to be strategically inclusive and adaptive. So it gets to the smallholders, farmers, not forgetting the realities of Africa that we talk about matrices and also basic infrastructure and also the need to make carbon credits, like, I don't know, like a commodity or something, okay? Beautiful. I think this is so insightful and has actually unlocked a lot of areas that we need to look at. Prince Justin, you have anything to add to this before we move to the last one? Okay, maybe after this second and the last one, probably he'll be ready by then or something. Yes, I think this is taking us to the second and the last one. Here we're looking at the issue around voluntary compliance with carbon market, voluntary compliance. How do we incentivize smallholders, farmers to voluntarily comply with, carbon credits market to become for their farm to be carbon certified, something like that. So how do we incentivize them? How do we ensure that smallholders, farmers, okay, are open to voluntary compliance? And then number two is carbon credit revenue. Carbon credit revenue, because I know that if we're looking at the framework, it has to do with policy makers, government. We have to come in and then design a framework, okay, and then the revenue stream. How do we integrate it into trade agreement or into national framework? How does the government benefit from it as a revenue to them? And also, how do we ensure, like, how do we create a market between the government now and the smallholder farmer, the carbon credit market, where you have smallholders farmers are voluntarily complying to carbon credits certification requirement compliance, and then government too, they are also able to make something out of it, or maybe public-private partnership. They are also able to generate revenue from that.
Thank you, Evans. Thank you. It is very important question, because when I speak about like forming a framework and all that, it's more technical and it does not motivate farmers to get into this. But of course, this provides several opportunities for farmers and there are some risks as well. So let me get into the opportunities first. And when you talk about the revenue, it is certainly a new revenue stream for the farmers, and they can be part of this revenue stream very easily in a form of carbon credit payments when the returns come out of these carbon credit projects. It would offer, a supplementary income, also help them diversify household revenue and all that. Because mainly all these carbon credit that comes from the agriculture and the forestry and what we are talking about, the area that we are talking about, are nature-based carbon credits, and they are sold at a premium price. And therefore, these practices, they are already getting very, very, attention in the world and also accepted. Agroforestry, regenerative agriculture, methane reduction from the, this agriculture and so on are very, very sellable credits. And therefore, it, having climate smart practices and reducing it also, helps into reducing the vulnerability to droughts, floods, pests, and it will also increase long-term soil fertility, water retentions, and biodiversity preservation. So all these will be helpful not only from the revenue perspective, but also from the saving perspectives and for the risk reduction perspective. So that would be very, if we explain them from these perspectives, I think farmers would be on board. So that is how I think we should be talking in the language that they would like, or in a way that they would be easily involved in this. Also, we must remember that the process of, carbon credit project would increase access to the resources such as training, tools, and technical support, that is soil testing, monitoring, and all that will come, and that will foster cooperatives or the farmer groups, into capacity building, and they will increase collective bargaining power. So international carbon finance and sustainability discussions would be involving their voice in climate negotiations, and it will influence all over the land use policies that we would make, and the decision makers would like to listen, will have to listen to them on that basis. Also, there are few risks, of course, as I mentioned, that there are risks in carbon credit projects because they are quite expensive and complex. It should involve, baseline measurements, monitoring, reporting, and verification, and then also having certification, third-party accreditation, and so on. And therefore, sometimes it happens that, if farmers are unclear about their land rights, there could be a dispute of carbon ownership. But at the same time, if, and also these projects are very long term, they are from like 10 to 30 years. And therefore, we need to be very involved in that whole management of the carbon credit project. And we cannot change the land use during that project time. And so it's bit of that limitation that we need to consider. However, this volatile can be changed into immense opportunity if we have collective actions, such as already, which I mentioned, building cooperatives, having technical capacity, having basic facilities to allow digitalization and participation, deployment of mobile and satellite technologies. All that can lower the cost and increase transparency and make this possible. And finally, you mentioned about the revenue streams. These revenue streams would be incorporated into the trade agreement of the cooperatives, and that could be the part of this AFTA and all EU trade details and so on. And it can, what could happen that we can develop carbon-linked trade finance and investment products, which would, invite micro investment, but also it will assess all the credit worthiness of that carbon and be able to award credit to the people who actually are involved in the project. So I will stop here. There are immense opportunity of such discussions going forward and also bringing, people together. Finally, I would like to just mention our 20 million farmer initiative, which is Farm Carbon Africa, where we are inviting these 20 million farmers to join us. And first step that we will be doing is onboarding them on a digital commodity exchange platform. It is all underway. We have already got 3 million farmers registering with us. And it will soon show, and it has already started showing the hype of the people's interest into digital platform. These digital platforms will give us the data, will increase transparency and traceability of what we are doing, and especially it will also offer us some very, more reliable market trends, which policymakers would be really interested. And this is all again these all trade high-level trade corporations are interested in knowing such data. It will also give us clusters of where these potential carbon credit projects lie, and we will be able to work on that. And soon, within a year, we will be able to provide the revenue stream that farmers are looking from the carbon credit projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think we have a hand up. Maybe we could take one of the questions.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Lydia. Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. This is Lydia from Zambia. I coordinate a network for civil society, the Zambia Climate Change Network. So, Doc, very insightful presentation you've made. And my question on the first part is around the homegrown frameworks, whether we have examples of maybe countries that have done those homegrown frameworks around the carbon credit market. I think it would be good to learn from there. And my second question on the second part of your presentation, as you mentioned, in terms of the opportunities and the risks, and then because currently we are assessing some of the carbon market projects around the country, and one of the issues that we've come across is around the cost benefit in terms of communities themselves, the farmers themselves, not being involved in the whole process, and also issue of transparency when it comes to revenue. They do not know how that is done, and also they don't have access to the contracts that are made. And as you mentioned, these are long-term contracts, like 30 years. And so looking at that gap in terms of farmers' capacity to engage in these negotiations, and I think that is where I want to hear more in terms of how do you support this, because it's quite a huge gap in terms of the communities really benefiting what is intended for them to benefit from the revenues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Both questions are so important. Homegrown framework, especially like we have seen in a few countries, like first of all, Singapore has made its own carbon credit framework, and they are implementing it. Of course, especially at a country level or continental level, country level, there are few examples going on. But we haven't seen a very strong presence because voluntary markets are working so well in a sense of, like it is easy to sell your credits immediately to international market and so on, international buyer and so on, because certainly it is the carbon transactions are from between developed countries and developing countries generally, or in the countries where there is high or the corporates that have very high energy intensive processes to corporate or country where there is nature-based solutions, right? So it is hard to have that. But at a continental level, because Africa is having so many countries in it, so it can work on its own as a global space. And so I am talking not at a country level, but at a continental level. Certainly, Africa has a potential to make homegrown, framework in a way that it has pockets of energy intensive products, but at also same time, it has pockets of natural resources where this exchange can happen and symbiosis of these corporates can be very easily possible if free trade carbon has such a framework and policy to support, right? So that I believe it is highly possible in Africa because of its strategic level, in a sense of strategic configuration, geopolitical configuration. Okay. Whereas, in EU, it's a bit difficult compared to Africa because it has mostly energy intensive, it is high in carbon emission and so on. They are also trying to deal with the same thing. And, EU green policy is one of that. However, they source a lot of supplies from outside EU, and therefore Africa is now, like for example, cocoa and coffee, Africa is immediately impacted due to those things. And therefore we must, at Africa level, we must think of how we would continue our businesses and be sustainable so that we can keep exporting, but also, improving our own landscape of production and consumption in a way that it serves our own community. So I will stop for that for the first question. Secondly, you mentioned about, yes, in the carbon credit projects, generally, traditionally, the ground level people who are involved in it do not get understanding or do not get proper revenue back, or maybe there is no transparency and traceability. And that's why we have taken a very different mode here. We have started with traceability and transparency first, and then go to the carbon credit projects. So that's why we are highly advocating this, digitalization. That is, whoever comes to us must be trading on a digital commodity exchange platform, so that it will increase, because when they have to digitally trade, they have to have banking system, invoicing system, delivery system, warehousing system, all that comes into play. And that increases traceability and transparency. And I would be glad to mention here, one of your Zambia partner, Zambian Commodity Exchange platform, that is Zamak, is our partner. and we are establishing that through them. So, and I know Zambian government is also very keen on having this digital platform. Also, I know about many programs going on in Zambia. I think I must applaud Zambia here because they have taken several initiatives to move this carbon credit market or this landscape in a way that I would say it is one of the leading country. And so that is where. So for our program, I believe we are increasing transparency and traceability first. Each and every farmer will be is recorded with us. And therefore, whenever we form, we have not gone to the stage where we have registered a carbon credit project yet. But when we do, each and every one would be the part of that carbon credit project. And we have set up the design stage from now, and we have involved farmers from now. So they are the basic people who are actually volunteering and developing and co-creating these carbon credit projects. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Lydia, I'm sure you're good now. You're fine. Has all your questions been answered?
Yes, and I think I'll get in touch with her for more. Yeah, thank you.
All right, good to know. Collaboration networking has already kicked off. All right, thank you so much. All right, I think if there is no any other question for Dr. Renuka, then it means we're good to...
Sorry, please, I have a question for her.
Okay, please, sir.
So, before I jump out, Dr. Renuka, thank you very much for that insight on carbon credits and sharing different examples with us. The question is that's always run to my mind is that what exactly, because when you mention farmers keeping credit of that, so what exactly is that carbon credit? I say this in reference to your intervention, saying they can sell international markets, countries can sell. Is it like a gas? Is it a gas that will be stored somewhere and someone will come and move it and go and sell international markets? Or, and what is the rate now? Because I keep on hearing this carbon credit. There is a study we're doing when we did an end-line evaluation for USAID, French FDA, on supporting greening of the share industry. And one of the questions we asked in doing that end-line survey is that with greening the sector, and they said there's a carbon credit that comes out of it. I said, what exactly is that carbon? How do you calculate it? By cubic meter, by centimeter, by liters? What exactly is this carbon? Then you're telling a farmer that does not even have an internet that there is something that he has to sell. Because in Africa, I'm from Nigeria, we have a lot of forests. They say, oh, this is money. What exactly is it? What is the value? I'm saying this so that you break it down for us as laymen and for us to understand, because we keep on hearing this word at high level, technical words. But the reality is this, there's nothing being done. You talk about policies. What is the policy supposed to solve? When the policy makers don't understand what is it? Let me rephrase my question.
Don't worry, I understood your question.
You understood my question, right?
Yes, I understood your question. Don't worry to rephrase.
Give us in simple terms and tell me if you know. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, sir. Do not repeat your question. I understood your question. Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you very much. And, this is so important question. And therefore, actually what are these national policies, regional policies, global policies, what is climate change, what is carbon emissions, how it is measured, what is carbon literacy. I actually did last year Global South summits around the world every month online to educate people just about this, because the national and global policymakers speak in a way that is not easily engaging the community. The words and the terminology are so different than what we have on the ground level. And the questions that you have asked are always in everyone's mind. So let me explain you in a simple way that, say, for example, you have a pot in your house, okay? And you deposit, all the members of your house deposit some money in it. You deposit 10, other deposit 50, other deposit 60, and so on. When you need, you take out the money from that and you use it, okay? But you do not, then you have to have that sharing, that who shared how much they shared, right? Like then only it will be a fair sharing. Like when you distribute again that money, then you have to say, okay, I deposited 50, therefore I should get 50 back. And that should be sharing, okay? However, that also increases inequality. Now, what has happened in the world, that the whole world atmosphere has certain level of carbon emissions, and that is counted in tons. So for carbon emission, the unit is ton, okay? So that is overall counted, that this much should be the carbon emissions. Now, in last 150 years or after industrialization, we have used up so much energy that we have exposed carbon emissions into the atmosphere in a way that it increased our whole global warming. It increases the temperature. I won't go into too much science, but it has increased the temperature, and we want to keep that temperature as low as possible. And therefore, as the carbon emissions play a very important role, there are other 6 gases also, but we count as a standard carbon emission. And so we need to keep its ratio or its level as low as possible. And we should not allow 1 degree or 1.5 degree or 2 degree increase in our global warming. Okay, so that is all scientific. Now, when you say, and carbon, you know, the photosynthesis process, which is taught in all classes in a very primary classes of our schooling, that trees absorb carbon dioxide and emit oxygen. And that is the main regulatory process in our environment, that trees are the sinks of carbon emission. They absorb carbon emission. And therefore, forest, as you mentioned, forest is the resource that we want more and more so that it can absorb the carbon emission from the atmosphere. Okay? Now, when what has happened through the industrialization process, that the developed countries, for example, like the countries USA, UK, and many other EU countries, and so on, they have emitted a lot of carbon emissions due to their industrialization process and the mankind. Like they have, say, for example, cars, use of cars, use of other appliances. So wherever we use fossil fuel and we emit, and when it is used as an energy source, fossil fuel as an energy source, we emit carbon emissions, and this has increased the carbon emissions from the developed countries so much. And there is a lot of statistics around it showing that, say, for example, US emits 5 times or 10 times. Dubai is now emitting a lot of emissions due to its development process and so on. However, we must remember that use of energy is very important for any development process, such as, Africa, because it doesn't have electrification, it doesn't have lights in the houses, the development process has stalled or reduced because they don't have enough energy to light up their homes, to run their, hospital activities, or to run their schools or run their businesses and so on. So now, if we continue, like in Africa, if we continue doing the same, then we will also end up emitting a lot of carbon emissions, like using fossil fuels. And therefore, we need to use renewable energy. Renewable energy does not have a lot of emissions through the process. Again, I won't go into a lot of process, but that is what it is. And therefore, we are using, renewable energy such as solar energy, water energy, and so on, wind energy in the process of generating energy and to give it to the local people. So these are few things. Now, when you say how the carbon credit, another thing is that soil can absorb carbon, and the quality of the soil tells us the measurement of carbon in it. And the quality of the soil can be increased by tree planting. When we do cropping, agriculture, and so on, the quality of soil gets degraded because that soil gives the nutrition to the crops. Now, this soil needs to regenerate and acquire those ingredients back. Then that type of farming is called regenerative farming. If we use less mechanized vehicles on it, if we grow trees on it and so on, then or we rotate the crops appropriately, then that keeps the soil quality a lot more healthier or more ingredient or richer in carbon. Then that soil can be used as a carbon sink. Therefore we are saying, and therefore we are focusing on agriculture and forestry. Again, agriculture is one of the high emitting carbon industry, and therefore we want to lower the carbon emissions from agriculture. So now, because Africa, 80% of people are directly or indirectly engaged in agriculture, we need to focus on agriculture industry first. It also needs food security. It also needs revenue from the food and industry. And all that helps us to understand that Africa agriculture sector is highly interesting in developing carbon credits. And it can be done because people know what to do, because you already have several things in place. It is all about managing it better, recording it better. And if that is done, you will be easily getting carbon credits. Now, what is carbon credit? When I say in 1 year, my soil quality was such that it can hold, say, 8 tons of carbon, and if the next year I have increased its capacity to hold 10 tons of carbon, meaning that I have done 2 carbon credits. Easy. That is the way you can understand. It is just simple accounting, but a lot of process goes into that. But that is simple accounting, or a simple term. If you increase the carbon sink through trees or the soil absorption, or in other way by increasing biodiversity and so on, then you are having that credit, and therefore you should be rewarded in the credit. Now, how you can get that money out of that credit. The developing countries are still continuing their business. They are also reducing their carbon emissions. However, to go to the net zero, they will require to offset their carbon. And therefore, they are paying you to maintain or to help you sink the carbon. And so the overall carbon emissions in the world remain down. So I will stop here. I hope I have been able to explain few of the concepts that you have asked. Thank you.
Wow, this is amazing. Hello, sir.
I suppose this is like I'll give it to you, ma'am. I give it to you, ma'am. You have really detailed this in a way where I'm trying to even figure out how do we even go about this in Africa. I believe I have to commend you for what you are doing. You have to continue doing it because this is the future. And when we talk about the policy part of it, is in a dimension that will set the ball rolling. And when the policymakers ever understand this, then they will not set the ball rolling, because when you talk about the planting of tree and the soil absorption, so it's a deliberate policy that will encourage farmers to get into it. And it is not a one-year policy. It has to have maybe a 50 years plan where you start gathering this data with the technology that will be deployed, and also build technical expertise of people and as well as the farmers, translating these terms into the local language so they understand. So it becomes like an investment for them into the future. Just like I'm a trade person, so I speak trade. When I started talking about trade, people felt it's just import and export. I say it's beyond import and export. There's a value chain, and it's not even about theory, it's application of this theory. So thank goodness for ASCFTA that has brought so many people into the fold now. People start talking about, but we need to do more. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this elaborate explanation. This is detailed enough for me to also go in and start digging in and to see how we can contextualize it in our reality as Africans. So that means that if I don't have power, electricity, it should be count for me to be able to get money from somewhere. But are we consciously working towards this? So it's like turning around our negativity into something positive while building on this stuff. We have sun. It's just started raining. I'm also a farmer, so I depend more of rainwater to grow my crops. This year I planted about 3 times because it didn't rain on time, and it's due to climate changing. Even when we use technology to predict when it will start raining, it didn't rain. But so we miscalculated it. So these are the issues. So now in the farm, we have some renewable energy system that we put in place, from the dawns to generating power to manure and rest of these are the things. Thank you very much, ma'am, for this. I think I would ask the organizers to do more next time to get more people into the room, because this is a wealth of knowledge you've shared. Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you very much, Evan. You're doing very well so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Sand. You are talking really very intelligent points you have made, like especially from the policymaker that they should have 50-year policy. And definitely there are things like that in Agenda 2063 of Africa. It is also at African level. But the main problem, as I mentioned, policymakers and these are having their own, circles of speaking, and the way they should be communicating with the people is that. So that's a communication, gap. And what you are doing at a farm level, that is exactly what we want. When you don't have energy, now there is an opportunity to implement renewable energy and be a carbon credit project. Through this our carbon credit project, We are inviting these farmers, but remember these farmers have households, and therefore we are, and the farms as well. So we are investing into, harvesting, biochar, renewable energy, that is solar electrification, then clean stove, and many other projects that can be done through this big initiative. So it is not an initiative, it is total systems transformation, and you can be part of that. We are inviting every country to be part of us, and it is all voluntary at the moment. But when we come to the carbon credit, we have a structure in place that can help farmers get revenue back if they have invested in all this. If you start thinking, you get benefits from the day one. You start savings actually on your own resources, and then you get returns later on. So I will stop here. Thank you very much for all this discussion. And Lydia, I would like to tell you that Zambia is doing very well. I just few days a year ago, I heard your bank of governor of your bank talking about all the fiscal policies. And he was explaining each and everything that we need to know. And I think people should communicate in that way. He is really a good example where you can bring the policies. Like he was also explaining what is inflation, what you mean by inflation, how they measure inflation, and in what terms they are in comparison to other countries, and how they are trying to decrease inflation. And even a very less percentage of inflation is decreasing. He was trying to explain how they did it, how they calculated, all that. So these are the things that each and every citizen would like to know and be part of it, so they can also understand how to contribute. And what I am seeing here in the world, that many local actions are going on, just as Sand also explained, but they have not been recognized. And we are bringing this program to be recognized. So that is where I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also thank you for making this open. Yes, Mr. Sand, what we were thinking about is how to approach the AFCFTA Secretariat. We can do this at